The battle for Libya is heating up. American, British, French fighters hitting targets throughout Libya, but it's on the ground that this war will likely be decided. Rashad Antonius is a Mideast analyst, a professor at UQAM. He's back here in the studio with us. First off, I want to get your take on what is going on. We're day 4 into this Western coalition trying to stop Gaddafi's forces and create a no-fly zone over the country.
Well, it is the defense system of Gaddafi has been crippled, but the ground troops are still quite active, and so it's possible for him to use, or for his militias to use light weapons or heavy, not that heavy, but like tanks and armored cars, to continue to try to take back parts of the cities that he wants to keep. So so the battle is continuing. The bombing is continuing at the level of some of the cities. Tripoli, there's not much going on except the bombing by the Allied forces, but in other cities next in the eastern part of the country, in the western part of the country, he is trying to really retake completely cities
from the rebels.
From the rebels.
If you are Gaddafi at this point, what kind of options does he have left?
Well, you see, the way he thinks is different the way that you and I could think. Basically, he sees himself as a shield against colonialism, and therefore he is ready to fight for the end as much as he can, to keep whatever he can. And a certain portion of the army is convinced that this is actually the case. So they are fighting for their lives in a way, but also believing that they are defending the country against foreign intervention, which is not entirely false, in the sense that there is, this intervention, of course, aims at protecting civilians, but it has many other aims as well. And from that point of view, his discourse, his criticism of the contradictions within the forces that are bombing Libya now, his understanding of these contradictions is
not necessarily false.
It's not necessarily false. There are some elements that are true, and he sees the contradiction and he plays
and
on
he
them.
seizes upon that. Tell me a little bit about the wider sense. We know this is a region in revolt. It goes way beyond Libya. We're talking about Libya, we're talking about Yemen, we're talking about Bahrain, even some protests going on now in Syria. Are we looking at an Arab Spring, so to speak?
I think so. Even I would call it more than an Arab Spring. I think it's a second wave of Arab awakening. There has been a first wave of Arab awakening around World War II, and particularly after World War II, where a number of states have become independent from the former colonial powers. And that has been a very deep wave, but this has allowed the elites of some of these countries to become more independent from the former colonial powers. But it did not liberate the nation as a whole. And now what we're seeing is that the populations, the civil societies, are moving to become freer and less controlled by their elites. So it's a kind of a very deep wave of a revolution that will not produce immediate results in the coming month or years. It might take several years until the relationship between the governments in this part of the world and their society is completely changed.
I want to thank you for coming in today.
You're welcome.
It's always a pleasure.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back.
Visit ctvmontreal.ca for the latest news. Plus, join the discussion and get instant updates through Facebook and Twitter. Stay informed and stay in touch.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Now, kids, I want you to be really quiet for Grandma.
No games, okay?
No games.
No shouting.